If you'd recommend any Fire Emblem game to someone looking to get into the franchise, what would it be? I've only played Heroes. Without fail, anytime I stream, I am confronted with this query, and when put on the spot, I honestly still struggle answering it. In fact, just recently I was asked this exact question on a date, of all things. Pro tip, don't bring Fire Emblem up on a date. Well, I can because... Come on, look at me. Once again, I couldn't answer. I mean, this is a person I could potentially be inserting my seed into. And the first game that gets you into the series will define you as a player for the rest of your Fire Emblem career. What makes this question even harder to answer is that I feel every entry in the series is a great game in its own right. The Fire Emblem fandom is an admittedly precarious place, especially to a newcomer looking in. You've probably seen a lot of pretty intimidating words being thrown around online. Words like bases, growths, in general, and weeaboo. Yes. So what you're gonna want to do is not listen to any of that bullshit, close your computer, after you sub to me and hit that nut button of course, and play the game blind. You see, there's a stigma that we as social beings have internally conditioned ourselves to feel constantly. A stigma that you just gotta let go of if you want to enjoy Fire Emblem for what it is, and that is known as FOMO, or the fear of missing out. FOMO is defined as fear of regret, which may lead to a compulsive concern that one might miss an opportunity, a novel experience, a profitable investment, or other satisfying events. Gacha games such as Fae and social media platforms like Facebook, Discord, and Twitter capitalize and exploit this social compulsion to keep users engaged. However, this stigma is completely antithetical to the core design of Fire Emblem, and I feel will ultimately bring down your appreciation and enjoyment of these games. Getting hung up on thoughts like, am I playing optimally? Am I using the wrong units? And is my strategy correct? Is setting yourself up for a bad time, especially since the games are balanced around the expectation that you will be playing blind, and you're gonna miss some stuff. You're gonna miss a lot of stuff. That's okay, there's tons of room for error, so don't worry about it. You only get to play through the game blind once in your life. Right or wrong, the choices you make are yours, and the accumulation of those choices will produce a narrative that is completely unique from everybody else's. And isn't that special? And since we're on the topic of crippling fear that continually chews away at you, preventing you from experiencing any actual joy in your pathetic, meaningless life, let's talk about permadeath. Permadeath isn't a big deal, guys. Just get over it. There's a lot of hype around permadeath, I know. People say they won't even touch the series because of it. Don't fear the Reaper, take solace in death, accept failure. Because it's going to happen, and don't worry about it because the game is once again balanced in such a way as to anticipate its inevitability. Resetting is a thing, and ultimately it's your call when a unit dies as to what's more important to you, your time, which you will spend replaying the entire map, or that character. I know I personally had to make plenty of those calls in my last playthrough of Conquest. R.I.P. Silas, Niles, Charlotte, Benny, Perry, Shura, Selena, Baruka, and Kaki. If you're still unsure, let me put things into perspective for you. The average roster of a Fire Emblem game is about 45 units over roughly 30 chapters, which means you can lose an average of 1 unit per map and still have more than enough units to beat the game. Basically, what I'm trying to say is even if you let the bodies hit the floor, there's 1, nothing wrong with you, 2, nothing wrong with you, 3, nothing wrong with you, 4. You know, while we're on the topic of numbers, let's talk numbers. There's a lot of them, maybe even too many. Coming from a tabletop background myself, I can respect the elegance and rigidity that results in a stat-based system. There's a reason the core game hasn't changed in 30 years. Attack minus defense still equals AOE. There's beauty in the breadth of its simplicity, and the numbers are ultimately there to reward players who calculate before they run hands. But that's not to say you need to fixate on the numbers to be successful in Fire Emblem. No, you don't even need to know math. You don't even really need to know how to count. When Shozu Kaga, the designer and mastermind behind Fire Emblem, was asked if the game itself was made so even children would be able to pick it up, he responded with, yeah. As much as possible, we tried to remove stats and numerical data. We tried to make it so that even without relying on stats, players could still get a sense of an enemy being really powerful by how much damage they dealt. This sentiment also strongly applies to your own units as well. The more you use a unit, the more you develop a bond with them, and the more you get familiar with what they can and can't handle. I know that Fire Emblem gets this bad rap that it's one of the most hardcore series and it's super inaccessible for mere noobs to even comprehend its final form. But as most vets can clandestinely tell you, it really isn't. All it takes is the right attitude to help you appreciate the games for what they are, develop a skill set, and then let the game guide you through the rest. Hopefully my suggestions have helped you in grasping that mindset. A mindset that you can take with you and modify as you continue your own quest to discover the mysteries of the emblem.
Wait one cotton-picking, waffle-dicking second. You haven't even answered the question of which game to start with!
Guys, trust me. You don't want to hear my opinion because you're not gonna like it. And besides, I don't want to. Alright, fine, I'll do it. But let me make one thing clear. Jesus and Satan are in a constant struggle to covet my soul, and this shit isn't helping anything. Don't start here. These aren't strategy games, they're RPGs on a grid, and as such cater to players' FOMO compulsions and condition bad habits and expectations for the rest of the series. Don't start with these, they too hard! Don't start with these unless you like watching pixelated paint dry. What I do recommend is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. This is the easiest game in the series. It teaches the game mechanics very well without a tutorial. It has some of the best world building and character development in the series. It rewards strategic play with a bonus XP system. Fire Emblem Blazing Sword. It has a tutorial that comprehensively walks you through all the mechanics. The map challenges scale intelligently with no sudden spikes in difficulty. The story is straightforward, but upon subsequent playthroughs presents greater depth and nuances for you to discover. Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. It's the first one I started with, and now it's my favorite game of all time, and I have a Fire Emblem YouTube channel, and I think that's a good enough reason to say it's a good one to start with. It doesn't do a great job of teaching the player its game mechanics, but I made a fact sheet that will help you play blind. Link in the Despacito! And finally, the best entry for any player to start with is Tearing Saga! I can explain. Tearing Saga, while not technically a Fire Emblem game, it's so similar in gameplay that it might as well be considered one. No weapons triangle here, but besides that, the mechanics are almost exactly the same. The difficulty curve is incredibly forgiving. The world building and story is up there with the best in the series. It provides so many unique weapons and skills for you to play around with, and ample opportunities to do so with a hybrid open linear map design, giving underlevel units an opportunity to catch up to your A-team if you so desire. But most importantly, it exemplifies and nurtures the core design ideals of Fire Emblem better than any other entry in the series, and as such is the best game to start with. This game is so ridiculously riddled and infested with special events, secret items, and unique conversations that it's almost impossible to not stumble on at least a dozen your first playthrough, and when you do, it feels really good. Especially since some of these events, even if you're a Fire Emblem vet, will blow your fucking mind. It never feels like you're missing out on anything because the narrative is so fluid. The epilogue goes crazy in depth with every character and will drastically change depending on your playthrough. Another small detail of note that makes playing blind so much more enjoyable is this. Boom! A goddamn line graph to keep track of character growths. Now why the fuck don't we have this in every game? I don't understand. IS, get on this. We don't want fan service and DLC. We want fucking line graphs. God damn! So yeah, this is the best place to start in the series, in my opinion. So it gets my coveted Juicy's choice. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I want to thank all the patrons over here. These guys are beautiful, all in their own right, individually and as a group collectively. I want to thank The Link King 7 for helping me write the script. He's got a YouTube channel and really well-worded, great videos that I personally love watching. Link in the Despacito. Thank you so much, buddy. And I want to thank you for joining me on another quest to discover the mysteries of the emblem. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, y'all, stay frothy.